Tribal Health and Human Services Department of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes is proud to present Good Medicine, a program dedicated to the wellness of the Flathead Nation. The mission is summarized quite simply: a healthier people, a stronger nation. We will strive to make good medicine a reliable source of ideas and information about health issues so that everyone can make informed decisions about their own lifestyle and health care. You will meet health professionals, tribal government and spiritual leaders, and interesting people from the tribal community discussing important health issues that profoundly affect us all.
Hello, this is Good Medicine. I'm host Larry Pitts, and today we have an activist with us. His name is Bearhead Swaney, and he is a friend of mine, and he's come on today to talk about some issues that he's very concerned about, that he's using his right as a citizen of the country to protest with it a little bit and to make aware of some certain things. And then we're going to go later on talk about some issues that he feels really in his heart about health care that he wants to talk about. So, Bearhead, it's good to have you.
I think the thing that got me going was the war that we're engaged in, the illegal war that we're engaged in, and that all the approaching 2,500 Americans that have died, and 9 Montanans that have died, and the Indian girl, Lori Tessawi, or whatever her name was. What we found out is that 51 women were killed in Iran, or Iraq. And there's been nothing in the news about those women.
Are these Iraqi women?
No, American women.
Okay.
And so we look over there spending $3 billion, and our healthcare system is going to be reduced. He's trying to reduce it by cut out all the healthcare in the towns in Montana, because we're spending money on an illegal war and we're killing people that are dying in vain, all for the sake of oil. And if we don't do something about that, if we don't write our congressmen or senators, if we don't take an active role in stopping this useless, needless war, then it's going to go on, because they're aiming at Iran next. And how many people do we have to sacrifice before we wake up? And how many people do we have to sacrifice before we wake up and we realize that that war is costing our healthcare system locally? And so I think the important thing about the healthcare system is, when do we wake up and realize that health is my responsibility? It's not the health department. Mm-hmm. That I have to be able to take responsibility for my own health care, and I don't have to, because I have a free health care system. Mm-hmm. It's paid for. So why should I worry about it? They'll just give me some more pills and go on about your business and that. And the health department is never going to do what it's intended to do until the people wake up and say, hey, my health is my responsibility. It's not the health department. If we want to run around overweight, mm-hmm. and eat bad food and drink alcohol, Craig was just in here talking about drugs and meth. Mm-hmm. 100% of our welfare cases are alcohol related. Our major problem, I heard once that over 80% of our arrests are alcohol related. 80,000 people die a year in the United States from smoking, and it's all things that we can prevent. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting here not as a poster child, but as an overweight, fat man that should do something about it, that should say, hey, Bearhead, wake up and fix your own health. You can do it. And so that's what I intend to do. I'm 50 pounds overweight. I don't eat right. I'm 74 years old. I don't exercise. And so what's my body expected to do? Fall apart, naturally, if I don't take care of it. So I'm going to have to take care of my own health. I'm going to have to say, wake up, Bearhead, you got a problem and you better fix it, because Wade Shipley isn't going to fix it for you, or Kevin Howlett or the Tribal Council.
Yep.
And so until we do that, but we've been so used to a free health care system that we no longer think that we're responsible for our health. The other day I had to get a hearing aid.
Which are you wearing?
I haven't got it on. And $322 for a hearing aid. And I paid it. I had to scrimp a little bit to do it. But if I would have got that hearing aid before October 1st, I'd have got it for nothing.
Right.
So it made me think about, hey, my health care is not good. And it's not good because of the health department. It's not good because of me.
Choices
that I make. You know, I love a hamburger with fries and and all the grease. I'd mainline grease if they'd let me, I suppose. But I don't eat right. I don't exercise right. I don't exercise. I laughingly say, people ask me, why don't you exercise, Bearhead? And I say, I never saw the advantage of being tired. You know?
Well, you used to always say, you're always up here saying, well, there's nothing wrong with me. Look at me. I'm healthy. I can go out and work in the field. I can do this. I can do that. But what we don't understand is we might get on that plateau, but it's the calm before the storm. But
also what I found out working out in that field is I used to take a bale of hay and throw it up on a truck way up. And now when I grab a bale of hay, I can barely get it on my truck. And so first thing I noticed about growing older and having bad health in terms of health that I can correct, not, I thought, wait a minute. You can do something about this. There's gyms all over, free gyms that you can work out in, and a lot of people more than willing to help you in that thing. And so I go visit you and Dennis Webster, but I don't, I go like this and say, I've done my exercise and that. But I guess the bottom line is, Kevin Howlett once said that 80% of our health care dollars are spent on 20% of the people. And if that's so, what are we going to do about it?
Yep.
What are we going to do? What about the drunk that goes out and gets in a car wreck and smashes his pelvis and breaks a leg or an arm and goes to the emergency room and he's in intensive care for a while? And we've spent $27,000 right off the bat before Chef kicks in. Chef is a catastrophic health care coverage that Billings picks up after that we hit that number. So what happens when that happens, because we're taking care of some alcoholic who was drunk driving, some little kid can't get services or is denied services, or some elder person is denied elective surgery. And so because we're spending it on those cases that we shouldn't be spending, and I'd say, and I'm very rough about this. I should be brought in and say, and they have the people down there say to me, Bearhead, you're 74 years old, you're 50 pounds overweight, your blood sugar's way out of whack, your cholesterol's way out of whack. You got to do these things. And if you don't, we're going to monitor you. And if you don't, you can pay for your own stroke, or you can pay for your own heart attack. Then you're going to get my attention. But until you get my attention, and we've been taught to get hit over the head before we get our attention. So to me, what I'm saying to the people out there is the problem is yours, not the health department. The problem is yours. If you want to sit around and eat Big Macs by the dozen, and you want to drink pop and potato chips and candy bars and not exercise, then it's your fault. It's nobody else's fault. You can't blame anybody at the health department. You can't blame the Indian Health Service. You can't blame it, but just look in the mirror and say, hey, the problem is mine, and I got to do something about it. So I'm here to tell you, and to the listening audience or the seeing audience, whatever they are, and I hate to say this, because if I'm going to walk the walk, I got to talk the talk, or if I'm going to talk the talk, I got to walk the walk.
There you go.
So I'm starting on a program for myself. And I can tell you people that if I can do it, you damn sure can do it. Because, so I think that exercise and eating right and staying away from tobacco and alcohol and that is what we have to look at. And if we look at I talked to the people down the health department today, different people, and I asked them, what's our major health problem? One said hypertension, one said depression. We don't have an epidemiological study to tell us what our health problem is. Where are we spending our health care dollars? Now I can tell you this, that if 80% of our arrests are alcohol related, does that mean that if we could get a handle on alcohol, that we could reduce our police force by 80% and save those dollars? And the health care would go way up? Well, people say, well, God, if we do that, I'll lose my job. That's not the case, you won't. There's other things that they can be doing. And so we as a tribe have just ignored the alcohol problem and the drug problem on this reservation as a people, not as a department like Craig. Craig's doing everything he can do, but as a people. And where does the parents become involved? When do the parents become involved for the behavior of their children? You know, and so...
Well, you know what, just right now, what you're talking about doing, okay?
Yeah.
You're going to pass this on to your kids, to your grandkids.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, your daughters are already ahead of you. You know, both daughters have lost weight. They're looking great. You know, I haven't seen your son lately, so I can't say yes or no. But I see it starting to pass on, that they're starting to say, I care about myself.
Yeah, and you know, when you don't take care of yourself, over the years it just kind of sneaks up on you till it slams you in the head and says, whoa, wait a minute, I can't do what I used to do. I'm clumsy, I trip. You know, and then you make jokes about being fat, or you make jokes about exercise. When I get the feeling I need exercise, I lay down till it goes away. You know, and things like that. Well, that's all over with now. It's to the people. Again, I say, don't blame the council, don't blame the health department for your health care. First, look at yourself and say, what can I do to be a better, healthy person for my tribe? And that's the bottom line.
Well, let me ask you a question. You got a good friend, Doug Allard, and on his restaurant, you go down in the basement, he's got all those pictures of our old elders down there from the past. Have you ever seen a fat elder from the way back in the past?
From way back, no. No, there were no fat elders. I suppose there was one here and there, but
right.
Majority of the people. But if you looked at the way they lived, they lived healthy. They didn't eat. They weren't drinking gallons of pop, and they weren't eating gallons of French fries and cookies and all that stuff. They ate natural foods. They ate a lot of deer and elk, and they ate a lot of natural plants. They grew gardens. They lived out of the garden because they were poor. They couldn't run to the store because they didn't have money. And if they did run to the store, they had to get on a horse to do it. They didn't jump in a car and drive down to Ronan. They had to work to get there. Everything they did. They chopped wood, hauled water. Everything was inconvenient, but the life that they lived was a healthy life. When I was a health director, we sent some CHRs to Chico Hot Springs. And they came back with a story I still can't believe. But the United States government had a cash prize to the first reservation in Montana that could come up with a diabetic. And they couldn't come up with a diabetic until 1937. So with the advent of commodities and all the starches and the high food and the automobiles and the convenience, the wealth that we have now compared to what we had in the 30s and the 20s, all contributed to our bad health. Because even on a farm, on my ranch, I don't do a lot of work because I get on a machine, and the most work I do is change what tool I put on behind the tractor. In the old days, there'd be 10 or 15 of us out there putting up hay and with horses and pitchforks. And now, one guy does it, and he does it in a tenth of the time. And so the only time you get much work is if you're building fence and you get a lot of walking and that stuff. But now we even have post drivers, and we don't dig post holes anymore. And so it's our lifestyle that we're looking at. And it's easy to jump in your car if you live in St. Ignatius and drive uptown and get your groceries. When I was high school, you used to see people carrying their groceries home from, they walked uptown and carried their groceries home. Now, it's easy to go to the restaurant and get your ration of grease. And you go down, my God, if you want to eat a sandwich, go down to the Old Timers and order a club sandwich. That's so big, so big that I ate one, and I'm a big eater, I ate 1/4 of it. But how much of it was good for me? And so it's easy to be unhealthy. We have 100 ways to be unhealthy and just a few ways to be healthy. And one of them is to curb our eating habits, to increase our exercise. And from what everyone tells me, the more exercise you do, the more energetic you are. So since I've been retired, I say, well, I'll take my nap in the morning, and sometimes I sleep through my nap, and I take a nap in the afternoon, and my belly's getting bigger. Well, so what? I'll buy a bigger size pair of pants, and all of a sudden I can't do the things that I used to do. And it'd be, wait a minute. Take stock here.
That's right. Hey, Bearhead, we're well over halfway done the program, so we're going to take a short break here, or PSA break with Boys and Girls Club of America. So, viewing audience, don't go away, and we'll get back to talk about health care and the crosses. No, so hang on. So we'll be right back after this short PSA.
3 o'clock. Where do your kids go? When I was 9, my mom had to work 2 full-time jobs to keep our family together. She didn't get home till 11. The streets were there, but for my sake, so was the Boys and Girls Club, a positive place for kids and our second home every day after school. Eddie Rodriguez ran the Boys and Girls Club in my neighborhood, and he still does today. He taught me to believe in myself, to be positive, stay grounded, and to keep my eye on the ball. I still come back to train at the Boys and Girls Club with Eddie. He's like a father to me. Today, there are 3,000 Boys and Girls Clubs where caring people like Eddie help our children succeed. Does it work? It did for me. Support the Boys and Girls Clubs, the positive place for kids.
And we're back from that short PSA break with the Boys and Girls Club of America from down in Ronan. It's that time. Support them. They always need help. $5 a year, get your kid in there for the whole year, and it's a pretty amazing membership. And your kids are safe there. So now, I want to thank Jim at the hair shrink for my haircut. And that's how I get paid for this program. But now, Bearhead, we're at the beginning of the program, we were talking about the Iraq War. And about your being an activist, you have a small protest going that a lot of people aren't aware of. They see these crosses down on the base of Post Creek Hill, right before the Post Creek itself. There on the side, you got a bunch of white crosses. And you got, was it one red one? At this stage, one red one up there. Tell me about those and how that got started.
Because I was opposed to the first Iraq War, and it didn't do any good. And the second one come along, and I began to watch these people die. And I thought, this is crazy. You know, this is crazy that we're in an illegal war, that the whole world is opposed to us being in Iraq. They talk about a coalition of United States and England primarily, and they'll get some little African country that sends up 120 troops or something like that. Spain is pulled out. I don't know about Italy, but I think they're a reluctant partner and don't do much. But we're in it, it's our war. It's not a coalition war, it's us and England. And I watch these people die, and I watch the news, not the ABC or CBS or NBC, but I watch Jim Lehrer and I watch Link TV and I watch FS-TV, and I watch news from the Middle East, and all different news that BBC gives you a better picture of what's going on. And they're not telling us a lot of things. They're not telling us the actual dead count that they're putting out is not true. The actual death count is much higher than that, because the ones that they're counting are killed in battle. The ones that are wounded and die later are not counted. Mm. Then the ones that are wounded come home, and what kind of health care do they get? Mm-hmm. It's a shame, it's a shame. Yeah. And to me, I thought someone's got to do something. How do I do it? What do I do? You know, I can stand outside with a sign, and I thought, I'll make some crosses for every dead person that was killed. And then Lori, the Indian girl that was killed, I thought, I'll make her a big red cross and put 2 eagle feathers on it. And then I found out there were 9 Montanans, so I made white crosses for the 9 Montanans. And I thought, and people kept asking me, what you got out there, Bearhead? What you got out there? Well, it's none of your business. I'm not talking. I'm not going religious. I'm not a Bible thumper. And I'm not crazy, I don't think.
Well,
I said, but a man's got to do what a man's got to do. So finally, everybody kept asking me, well, when are you going to tell us? When are you going to tell us? I says, when it's time, I'll tell you. So Christmas morning, my kids all eat breakfast with me Christmas morning, and I told them then what the crosses were about.
Which is a religious holiday, the significance of the cross.
Well, I don't know if it's a religious holiday.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It has nothing to do with religion. Okay. It has to do with crosses represent death. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, so I started in, and people, I'm surprised, I haven't got any negative reaction. Mm-hmm. I've got positive support. People have, and then Harry, and then I've tied up with the peace group here out of the college. I didn't know they were going on. So I tied up with them, and we made crosses. We plan on making crosses for every American killed in that war. And it's a visual effect.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and they asked me in the Missoulian yesterday, they said, well, why the crosses? I said, it's a visual effect. Mm-hmm. You know, people can see it. And I said, why are you here?
They saw crosses.
Yeah, and so to me, the Iraq War represents a whole host of sins that impact us locally and primarily in our healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
And when they cut dollars like they're planning to do, and we have people that can't take care of themselves, so if we can increase the dollars and we can convince the people to take better care of themselves, then we will have a decent healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the reason for the Iraq War, and I hope that I can't change the United States. I can't change Montana, but maybe I can change Lake County. I don't know. Maybe my sights are big, you know. And it's. I'm not looking for votes, and I'm not looking for money, and.
But you know, people are wanting to donate to you.
Well, they can donate to Harry Goldman and his group because they're in with us, and a woman donated money for. We're going to put up a big peace sign. Flathead Stickers up here donated the material and said, whenever you need more, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great that we do that. And if not, then this spring when it opens up, we'll go up and cut some more skinny lodgepole, thin out some lodgepole.
Yep. Well, and you're bringing awareness. Whether, you know, as you said, you'd rather somebody come and tell you that you're crazy, that they don't agree with you, then we got so complacent in our life that most people don't really sit down and think about what's going on because we don't see it except on the news.
Yeah. My grandson's friend was a Marine,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants me to put up 41 crosses for 41 members of his battalion that were killed.
Mm-hmm.
And another woman wrote a letter to the Mission Valley, to the Journal, and it was a positive letter, and she took that picture back, or he or she, I can't know if a man or a woman, it's got a strange first name, and took it back and hung it on her locker, or his locker, or whatever. So we're getting the attention of the people, and because we're short on time, I would suggest to the people that the Indian people, you do one thing, take care of your own health care problem.
Mm-hmm.
To the people of Lake County and whoever sees this, write a letter to your congressman or your senator, and don't write a form letter, write a handwritten letter. It doesn't have to be long. It can just be, say, get out of Iraq, or let's find another way. Nobody's ever won in Iraq. Going clear back to Afghanistan, to Genghis Khan, nobody's ever won in Iraq, or in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
And so that Middle East has been a cauldron of, boiling cauldron of rivalry for 10,000 years, and us being there is just creating a bigger problem.
Yep. Well, Bearhead, I appreciate your opinion. I appreciate your efforts.
You bet.
Appreciate you. Thank you for coming aboard.
Thanks for having me.
Viewing audience, this is Larry Pitts from Good Medicine. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week. And goodbye.
Good Medicine is your program. We hope you watch this and subsequent programs to stay informed about your health care. And we'd like to hear from you about how we're doing. Please direct any comments or suggestions you have to us. You can reach us at